And so now joining us here at Studio 11 is Jamie Court. He's president of Consumer Watchdog in Santa Monica. And Jamie, I know we're kind of taking you a little bit out of your milieu here, but you actually have been talking to people about how they want their government money spent, their own tax dollars spent. And a lot of progressives like yourselves have been waiting for President Obama to take a stand. He did it today in the Rose Garden. Said, I'm going to veto any bill that takes from Medicare or Medicaid and doesn't ask wealthy Americans to pay their fair share. You happy?
I'm happy that he took a stand. I'm happy that he took a stand for working people. I'm happy that if he's in class warfare, which I think all of Washington's in, that he's fighting for the right class. But the real question when President Obama takes a stand is how long is he going to hold the pose? Because in the past, he hasn't done so well in negotiation. I mean, this is a guy I wouldn't want to play poker with. So what I think a lot of progressives are asking themselves right now is, what does this mean? Most Americans, I think, based on what we've been seeing in terms of opinion research on a lot of our issues, is people do want the rich, millionaires, and corporations to pay their fair share, but they've got to see that money go specifically to something in government that they think it's going to get to. People don't trust government. They don't trust. They know the educational system's broken, but if you ask them, should we tax millionaires to give it to the schools, the chances are they're going to say no because they don't believe it's going to get to the schools.
But don't you think this taxing millionaires thing just makes everybody feel better about themselves? I was reading a piece by John McKinnon in the Wall Street Journal. He said, according to the Nonpartisan Tax Policy Center, so that would be a center I would think you would have some respect for, even if you doubled the taxation on millionaires, you would only raise about $19 billion, and that's a drop in the bucket when you're talking trillions of dollars a year that you need to cut.
Well, look, it's a tactical decision. The president hasn't connected with the independents, the muddled middle. He's connected with his base. And what he's saying today is, I'm going to come out swinging on a different tune. I'm going to fight for working people. I'm going to fight for the middle class. I'm going to take a stand against the richest. And when you got Warren Buffett on your side, it makes sense. But here's the thing. Ultimately, if you start taxing hedge fund managers at more than 15%, which is what they're paying now, it adds up. If you start taxing millionaires at alternative minimum tax,
15%. You double that and put it up to 30%.
And say, well, which is what I pay. It was what the middle class pays.
Still only going to raise $19 billion, though.
It's tax equity. It makes people start to feel better about what they're paying in their government.
Then you are talking about a populist view. You're talking about really, and you even said it's class. You even said it's class warfare.
Right. Well, look, we've been having decades of class warfare. The problem is, it's the wealthy class that's been getting away with it. And finally, we have a president who's going to say, look, I'm going to try to change this dynamic. And if I stick by my guns, and if I do target government cuts, I'm also going to make sure that the wealthiest pay. Look, I'm not the guy to defend President Obama. I've been pretty critical of him, and we've talked about this before, on the fact that he hasn't gone far enough. But today what he did was make an attempt to say, I connect with the pain of working people, and I'm going to make everyone pay the way you've paid for this government.
Isn't he really connecting with the votes of working people, though, as we're leading into 2012? Isn't this really more about framing an election so he can have 4 more years to get done what he says he wants to get done?
Well, that's really a question. I think tactically the next few months will determine that, because he's got to now start to reach out and say, I want to put this specifically in roads and jobs and things that the American people believe the government does well, not in an amorphous reduction of the general fund dollars or offsetting necessarily a cost of war. He's got to say, look, I'm going to do this. It's not easy, but this is what's going to pay for it. It's going to pay for more roads. It's going to pay for more tunnels. It's going to pay for more jobs, for public works jobs. He's got to go beyond what he did today. But this is the first time we've really seen this president actually come out and say, look, I'm going to take a stand with working people against the rich.
You just don't know how long, as you said at the very top, he's going to hold that stand.
If he doesn't...
See, I mean, you really don't have faith in your guy.
I wrote a book called The Progressive's Guide to Raising Hell.
I'm glad you brought it.
And we've talked about it before, but the reason we have to raise hell is because the president has proved much more of a conciliator, a diplomat, than a hellraiser. In these hard economic times, with what we've been seeing of this government, it's time that the president take a stand for working people. This is as close as I've seen him since the health care reform bill.
Right.
And that was the beginning of the health care reform bill, not the end of the health care reform bill.
Well, so that's up for debate.
He's making, and we've had that debate.
That's right.
I see the president, if he starts to move forward on things that matter to Americans economically, like whether they're paying more in taxes as a middle class person than a millionaire, that's going to be something that could be salient, but he's got to follow through.
All right. Jamie Court, thanks very much for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Raising Hell, the Progressive's Guide to Raising Hell. There you go. Jamie Court's book.